the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, our newest affiliate, Red State Talk Radio, and AMFM247.com. And joining me today as my co-host is the Patriot from the Garden State. That's New Jersey, by the way. And that is my very good friend, Anna Little. Anna, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Glad to be with you, Rick.
Great to have you with me once again, Anna. So what's on your radar screen, kiddo?
Well, you know, the top item of the day is Donald Trump's position on pro-life issues, or perhaps his having fallen into the trap of being interviewed by a far left-wing liberal and a Clinton supporter. And he was asked a hypothetical question, Rick, and I've been there. I've run for office. I've been asked the same type of hypothetical question. You can't be answering hypothetical questions, especially when they're posed by a pseudo-opponent in the guise of a media representative. And that's exactly what Trump walked into. But apparently, it has caused him some trouble. Already, he was on shaky ground in Wisconsin because Scott Walker came out and endorsed Ted Cruz. And you know Scott Walker is a loved Republican in Wisconsin and a very loved conservative nationwide.
Yep.
So he's already in trouble there. But this, it's just a snafu. And, you know, I'm sure that Trump recognizes that today. But, you know, it's not like you're having a conversation in your living room when you're being interviewed by these left-wing liberal media representatives. And you can't be that cavalier and casual, and certainly don't be guided by the questions they're asking you. What's your message? Get your message out. If your message is not about putting women in jail for having an abortion, then don't let yourself get put there by the question being asked. It's a hypothetical. It started off with, what if abortion was illegal? What would you do? My answer would have been, well, when we get there, you can ask me. Right now, it's silly to even think that direction because it isn't illegal. And with the court in a 4-4 situation, I don't see us changing it without an appointment, which isn't happening until after Obama is no longer president. Let's talk about something that's real, like the economy. Mm-hmm. There's an answer to a question like that. And so this is seasoning, this is experience, this is teaching not just Donald Trump, but every candidate on that platform to not be guided by the questions posed. You should not be narrowly responding to the question as it's posed by your opponent, who stands there in the guise of a journalist. I mean, we all know the liberal media is not for conservative Republicans, and they're certainly not for pro-life positions. You watch the way they report on pro-life demonstrations versus anti-life or pro-abort demonstrations, and you'll see the difference. And we have to, every year at the March for Life, put up our own social media photographs to show the large attendance at the March for Life, because the mainstream media, which is run by a bunch of liberals who call themselves journalists, those liberals won't let anybody see the crowds that attend that event. And the same is true at the March for Life on the West Coast, the smaller ones, but the national one for sure. So Trump fell into a trap, and that's been the topic of discussion for much of the day on Fox News for sure, and on other media stations as well.
Well, I think that the abortion issue is something I believe Donald Trump doesn't want to go near for any amount of money. Okay, he got pulled into a trap. Yeah, it's happened again where these politicians let these so-called reporters pull them off message. But Anna, it's not like asking him to spell potato. In my opinion, I could see where that is a legitimate question, or at least that's a question he's going to get somewhere along the line. And for him to hem and haw and say that the abortion issue is very confusing, well, that answer's confusing to me, Anna. Very confusing to me. I guess
where he is on it. He knows he's supposed to be pro-life.
Well, I'm not sure he's even sure where he's at as far as pro-life. If you want to debate our feelings on Donald Trump, if he's pro-life or not, after all, he's said just a couple of debates ago, about a month ago, Planned Parenthood does some good work. Wow, that's not an answer I expect to hear out of a conservative candidate. That Planned Parenthood does good work. When he says, this issue of abortion is confusing. Confusing to who? I know if I'd ask Anna Little about it, you would have your opinions, and it wouldn't be confusing to you. You ask me, I believe it's murder. I'm not saying charge women who have had it, but in my opinion, it's murder. Okay? Maybe in my opinion, you should charge the doctors that perform abortions with murder. Okay? It's just like they did that Gosnell over here in Philadelphia. But, for him to be caught in a trap like that, in my opinion, shows how ill-prepared this man is to be, not just the candidate, but more importantly, President of the United States.
Well, I can't disagree with you there. I can't. But I do think it's a teaching moment for current candidates and for future candidates. You're going to be asked these kinds of gotcha questions by journalists who are part of the liberal left and supporting liberal left candidates, and yet they're holding themselves out as journalists who should be neutral and just reporting the news, and they are anything but that. We've already established that. We all accept that. That's why there is a Fox News. That's why there is a Conservative Commandos radio. Mm-hmm. But present and future candidates need to be wise to that tactic, because where Donald Trump is concerned, they have to come up with some issue that will drive a wedge between him and female voters, because his numbers in that area were picking up. And they have successfully done so because he took the bait. And that is something that I think needs to be pointed out just like that, so that present and future candidates are forewarned and do not fall into the same trap. And, I myself was asked similar questions when I was running for Congress here. I had made no position with regard to the punishment of women. And they were asking me how long the jail sentence should be for a mother who kills her child in the womb. And I looked at the editorial board, the editor of the paper, and I said, where's this question coming from? There's nothing in my white papers that indicates anything about punishing the woman. So where are you going with this? And they wrote it anyway in their editorial.
And what do you mean by their white papers? Explain that.
They're position papers. Position papers for any candidate. Where are you on any particular issue? Okay. And they're generally written up, and in our case, we had put them on the website. So, the point I'm trying to make is that they didn't go from information like a journalist would, mm-hmm. that was put out by my campaign, and then ask me questions about that. They came up with an agenda of their own, and they proposed the questions such that I would have to either answer or avoid the answer, and they were going to write about the question posed and whether I answered it and how I answered it, or whether I avoided answering it. So they had already decided what they were going to write before they spoke to me. And sure. I believe that's what this interviewer had decided before he spoke to Donald Trump. He knew what he wanted the end result of that interview to be. And that's not a journalist. That's not a journalist.
No, that isn't. You know, Trump already has a gender gap problem. There's a new CNN poll that was released Thursday, and that was taken before the spat with Ted Cruz over the wives, found that 73% of registered female voters in the United States had an unfavorable view of Donald Trump. An unfavorable view of Donald Trump. And this is an article that's out on the Hill that came out on the 25th of March. So that...
Well, this certainly didn't help.
No, it certainly didn't help. But when you think 73% of the registered female voters in the United States had an unfavorable view of Donald Trump, he's got a big problem there already.
True.
Big problem there already. Hey, Anna, we are up against the break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network here at WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. Around the world on the internet with the American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, our newest affiliate, Red State Talk Radio, and AM FM 24/7. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Anna and I will be right back.
Yeah, that's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Anna Little and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, I guess otherwise known as podcasts, somebody's got to explain that to me somewhere at some time. But for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, or at 1 p.m., roarradio.net, or at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Please log on to highplainsdailynews.com, or you could hear our show and all the shows that are a part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network here at WNJC 1360 from your phone, any phone, by calling 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. A couple other things I have no understanding of. But I do know how to use a telephone. And if you call 832-999-1199 any time of the day, you'll hear the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. So, Anna, we have another great show lined up for our listeners today, and I guess I get the lead-off guest at 3:35, and that's our very good friend Art Harmon. Art served as the legislative director for another friend of ours, Congressman Steve Stockman, and where he drafted legislation and advised the congressman on foreign and defense affairs, border security, and other key issues. He's worked in the public policy area for over 3 decades in Washington, and he's a frequent analyst and commentator on radio shows like this one and television, and he served on the board of 2 nonprofits. And Art is going to be joining us to talk about a couple of things. Art is our guy down in Washington, and right now down in Washington there's a nuclear summit being held in Washington. We'll talk a little bit about that, and also we're going to talk about Obama's trip to Cuba and Argentina. There's some questions for a show on why Obama is making Cuba into China in the worst way. Well, I have my own ideas about that. So, Anna, who will you be speaking with?
Well, at the 405 segment, I'm going to be speaking with Robert Eno. He's the Director of Research for Conservative Review and also a contributor. He is a conservative from Deep Blue, Massachusetts. I can identify with him because I live in New Jersey. He now lives in Greenville, South Carolina, a better move for him. And he's also a fill-in radio host and appears on television. He's going to speak to us today about Trump and that threat of an independent run. According to Robert Eno, it's all but impossible for Trump to do that because he's ineligible in at least 16 states. So we're going to be talking with him at 4:05 about that prospect and what the reality may be regarding that. Mm-hmm. And then at 4:35, I have the honor of introducing and interviewing Dan Butcher. He's the editor-in-chief of High Plains Pundit and a program director for High Plains Talk Radio. The CCRS is a proud contributor to the High Plains Talk Radio. And High Plains Pundit is one of the leading and most respected news and information websites on the Internet today. And it's quickly become one of the leading Internet broadcasters with some of the top conservative hosts and shows on the web today. Dan has an article that he wants to discuss with us entitled Progressive Economic Policies and How They Generate Disastrous Results. Well, I'm certainly a believer of that, but it's nice to have the analysis to back it up. So we'll speak to Dan at 4:35 about progressive economic policy and how they generate disastrous results.
All right, so we have a great show lined up.
Yeah.
Amanda, I know you always have a very keen eye on the Ukraine. It's that part, it's one of the parts, we should say, that it's one of the parts in Europe that is in turmoil. What's the latest?
Well, right now I'm looking at an article that has been published, it says April 2nd, but it's published today with tomorrow's date. And it is called Dissociative Disorder on the Netherlands and Ukraine, and it's in The Economist. It's at economist.com. And really the title of this is that there's a Dutch referendum out there that is threatening the trade deal between the Ukraine and the EU. And this, was part of the basis of the war between Ukraine and Russia, where Russia broke the agreement, the economic agreement between the Ukraine and Russia, and then annexed or conquested Crimea. And since that time, obviously, the Ukraine has been trying to enter into an agreement with the EU because they do need economic partners in order to survive. Well, it seems that the Netherlands, of all places, is against this. There are 27 of the EU states that have already ratified the agreement with Ukraine, but the Netherlands is holding out and sparking a campaign to block the association agreement. It began last summer, and it's continuing today. And it really puts the Ukraine in a very uncomfortable situation because it was their interest in joining the EU that angered the Russians in the first place. And, they are in a vulnerable state. Part of their population is very freedom-loving and very democratic, and the other part looks back to Mother Russia and the old ways. And so they're at a moment in their political history where they really need support from the more democratic countries to back them up and not to put them in such a position where they're in an unstable relationship. So we've got to keep our eyes on what's going on in the Netherlands where it comes to the Ukraine.
Well, and also in the Netherlands and Belgium, we've got the refugee crisis, the terrorist crisis. I mean, my gosh, very unstable times for Europe and Eastern Europe. Very unstable.
Yeah, it is. And the activity of Russia in annexing Crimea also has other European nations near Russia, geographically near to Russia, very uncomfortable. And, the Americans and the other European countries, we've done nothing. To tell Russia they're wrong.
And I'm glad you said that because that's what my thought. It used to be, before Barack Obama, there was a strong Western power called the United States that would stand up to somebody like Vladimir Putin. We had people like Ronald Reagan and John Kennedy who would not back away from their pledges the way people like Barack Obama and Bill Clinton do or have done. And there's this vacuum now because there isn't this strong Western power called the United States anymore. There's certainly a vacuum now that Vladimir Putin is definitely taking advantage of. Hey, Anna, it is break time again, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 AM in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7. Our newest affiliate, Red State Talk Radio. Don't go away. On the other side, Anna and I will be speaking with Art Harmon.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Businessman there, drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Thank you, Congressman West, and you are listening to the Conservative Commando's radio show with Anna Little and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern, log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net, or at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. Or you can listen to our show and all the shows here at Conservative Commandos Radio Network by calling 832-999-1199. Our first guest for today is Art Harmon. Art served as the legislative director for Congressman Steve Stockman, and where he drafted legislation and advised the congressman on foreign and domestic affairs, border security, and other key issues. He's worked in the public policy arenas for three decades in Washington, and is a frequent analyst and commentator on radio and television. And he served on the boards of, on boards of directors of two nonprofits. Art Harmon, welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Oh, hey, Rick and Anna, always a delight to be back on with you. Thanks so much.
Art, you do this to me every time. You do this to me every time. You always seem to, at the last moment, you're kind of like our guy down in Washington, and I appreciate you for doing this. Last moment, you spring these little surprises on us. And I think that this little surprise today is something that we need to talk about. Apparently, there's a nuclear summit taking place in Washington today, and some real big nuclear powers aren't even participating in the summit. So why don't you take us through this thing?
Oh, indeed. Well, thanks. This is of very strong importance because nuclear proliferation to terrorist groups and terrorist countries like Iran and North Korea is an existential threat to civilization in the world. So Obama, I believe, will be remembered as the person who enabled the greatest proliferation in history to the nations least able to be responsible. That is, his nuclear agreement is giving Iran the bomb. He's not doing a single thing as North Korea threatens the very existence of the United States. Mm-hmm. But what country isn't there? Why, how about the country that just announced in time with this summit that they're going to double their nuclear arsenal? Can you guess who that might be?
Well, I got my cheat sheet in front of me here, Art. I don't. Anna, maybe you. Anna, do you have an idea of maybe who Art is talking about?
No, actually, I don't. I think Art's the expert here. We should have him tell us.
All right, go ahead, Art.
Well, it's actually the country with already the largest nuclear arsenal, and that would be none other than Mr. Putin and his private property territory of Russia and whatever else he's trying to take over. Mm-hmm. So to have something called a nuclear summit and to not involve, and not have Putin be there or one of his flunkies makes a mockery of it. And for Putin to then challenge the civilized nations of the world by announcing they're going to be increasing their nuclear arsenal at the same time as this summit is just a giant middle finger to the rest of the world.
I think it's a little more, Art Harmon, God bless you, but I think it's a little bit more dangerous than the middle finger. Anna, you and I were just talking about this threat coming from Vladimir Putin in our first segment today, and my gosh, we think about how catastrophic it would be if terrorists got a hold of nuclear weapons. We think how threatening it would be if somebody like North Korea got a hold of a nuclear weapon. But Russia already has them, and here's Vladimir Putin flexing his muscles. One more time, Anna, I got to say this. It's because there isn't strong leadership in the Western world. What's your take, Anna?
Well, I agree, and I would think that Art would be able to shed some light on this too, but it looks to me as though Russia does whatever Russia wants to do. She remains unchecked on the world stage, and I think that's extremely dangerous. I worry also about China. We saw military activity on the part of China. Both Russia and China are supportive of Iran. And Iran's looking for a nuclear weapon, and our president just gave a good thumbs up to them and their progress on nuclear research and the funding that would be necessary therefore. And it could very well be that Iran will have a nuclear weapon. Are we looking for World War III, Art? Because it sure looks that way to me.
You know, if you imagined a world where the president openly said, "I am going to give Iran the bomb," within very few short years, and he did the exact same things Obama did while claiming to be preventing it, you'd be absolutely spot on. And here's something that it didn't get the focus it needed as part of the Iran deal, and that was the most dangerous part of the Iran deal, and that was giving them the $100 to $150 billion. And here's what that buys. I did looked up the numbers. Manhattan Project cost, I believe it was about $20 billion in today's dollars.
Wow.
The MX missile program under Reagan cost, I don't know, I think it was about $60 to $80 billion. I didn't look it up before the show. So basically, Iran was given by this president, President Obama, enough money to make a state-of-the-art ICBM system that can hit anywhere on Earth and a state-of-the-art nuclear weapons program. That's what he gave them with this money. It's not going to the people.
Well, you're right, Art. We've heard a lot about the money. We've heard a lot about this money, or a large part of this money, going to fund terrorism. But we haven't heard a lot about this money going for Iran to develop a nuclear program and a weapon system to deliver it. That is really scary. That is really threatening and scary. Art, we got to take a break. Could you hold on for just 2 minutes for us, please?
Always happy to.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, AM, FM 24/7. We are everywhere. We are everywhere. Our guest this segment is Art Harmon, our man in Washington. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
We're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. At 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. Or you can hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199 any time of the day or night. Our guest this segment is Art Harmon. He served as the legislative director for Congressman Steve Stockman. Art is our guy in Washington. And Art, I wanted to discuss with you Obama's visit down to Cuba, down to Argentina, at the same time of this terrorist attack in Brussels, Belgium. He's down there taking pictures in front of murals of Che Guevara and learning how to tango, and he's having a real good time. But you asked a question in an article that you wrote that now that Obama has done all the damage he can do in Cuba and Argentina, there's some questions for a show on why Obama is making Cuba into China in the worst way. And Art, my knee-jerk reaction to that is because he sees this little foray into Cuba as his equivalent to what Richard Nixon did in China, trying to open doors that were closed.
Mm-hmm. Well, that you got a great point there, and Castro has learned a lot from China. See, China took our money, and from trade, they took our jobs and our money, and they built themselves up a modern electronic tyranny out from which it's almost impossible ever to escape. In the old days, you could still whisper in the Soviet Union that they could circulate, tracts by handwriting and things like that. But today's China, they listen to you 24/7. They spy on everything. When I was walking in Tiananmen Square, the cameras were, just oppressively everywhere. The people watched us and so forth. It was really scary. Mm-hmm. So you've got bankrupt Cuba that like Venezuela's destroyed their economy through socialism that Bernie thinks can be kept democratic, but history is against him, and so he's got a very rudimentary police state. The only reason he's able to keep most of his people in Cuba is 90 miles of sea to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And in spite of that, and in spite of Obama's starry-eyed, he looked like a kid on his first date as he touched down and walked around in his his newfound homeland.
Well, who can ever forget that picture in front of the Che Guevara mural there? I mean, it looked like his proudest moment as a man. I mean, the way he was standing there, he looked so proud to have his picture taken in front of a mural of Che Guevara.
Well, two key things on that. Number one, you're absolutely right. Obama was brought up by communist parents. His father, that he didn't know, he revered his communism. His mentors were communists, and his, he admitted in his books that he studied and seeked out the Marxists, and he never renounced it. Never. And, of course, we didn't have good nominees at the time to challenge him on that and ask him to renounce communism. But here's the thing. When you do a presidential trip to anywhere, where the president appears anywhere, his advanced men go around and they look for anything that they don't want to be seen by. So, for example, with this president, when he spoke at Georgetown University, which is a Jesuit university, they had, gasp, crosses, Christian crosses. So they had the university cover them up, because this president, who's happy to be seen with Che Guevara, did not want to be seen with a cross, a Christian cross. So it is an absolute certainty that his advanced men were there. They knew exactly the positions he would be standing in, and that the photos would be taken of him with the bloody mass murdered Che Guevara in the background. And they might have called it to his attention, or maybe even Obama said, "This is where I want to be. I want that photo. This is the guy I've adored and revered all my life." Putting words in his mouth, but we're probably not too far off. It was intentional.
Now, and Art, I want to jump in here for a minute. It's Anna. What is the agenda
Thanks,
here
Anna.
on the part of this president? I mean, he seems in his administration to have focused on Iran and on Cuba. He's been friendly with Russia. Where are we going? Where is he taking us? How does this help the American people? I don't see that. Can you help me figure it out?
Oh, sure, it doesn't help the American people. It does not help freedom. It does not help our allies. I was at the meeting with President Poroshenko of Ukraine just 2 days ago, and here in Washington, because he's here for the nuclear summit, unlike Putin. And how many times has Obama been to Ukraine? Did he go there after Putin sent his thugs in? No. He only sent his vice president. And so he sends very clear messages. He sends the message to Ukraine, I'll send you my vice president because I don't want to be there and support you. He sends the message, and this is the message he sent by standing in front of Che Guevara, doing the wave with the most bloody butcher in the Western Hemisphere, Raul Castro, who he treated like a long-lost brother. The message was this: Cuban people, I support Castro's and the regime. Don't get your hopes up that there will be any human rights reforms. And indeed, both Raul and Fidel made it very clear there will be no changes in human rights.
Unbelievable. And yet, the principles on which this country was founded would dictate that the leader of this country work to instill those values in the heads of state with whom he meets, and that he should be on the side of we the people in every nation throughout the world, as he should be on the side of we the people here. So,
and you're absolutely right, Anna, and it grieves me that we have a president who does not appear to share those ideals, that we have, and would rather be, palling around, what other word is there for it, with the most totalitarian dictator in the Western Hemisphere. And then he'll spend 51 seconds talking about Brussels in kind of an offhanded way when that terrorist attack happened. And he just kind of brushed it off as, we don't want to be seen to be scared. It's unbelievable and sad, but you look at his ideology. There's a famous photo of him out there. You just look it up on the web. That if you type in Obama, the post-American world, you'll see a picture from 2008 of him holding a book. It's a very posed shot. A book called The Post-American World. So he was sending a signal that, hey, I'm not on the side of America. I'm on the side of, everyone who's anti-American.
Unbelievable.
Art and Anna, I think we're warned by Dinesh D'Souza, with his movies.
Oh,
Obama's America. I mean,
those are so accurate, sadly.
And it's scary accurate. It's scary accurate. The way he talks about how it was his dream to follow the footsteps of what he thought his father stood for, and that's as an anti-colonialist. He's seeing America as the new great colonial power. I think it's been Obama's dream and to bring America to its knees. He hasn't really done anything to strengthen our country, our military, our economy.
Just the opposite. He's done everything he can to weaken our foreign policy and our military. And Anna, when you were talking about the messages being sent, a good American president would use what's called public diplomacy and would have stood there saying the Cuban people have the right to free elections, freedom of speech, free internet, freedom of internet access, and so forth. And he would have used that bully pulpit right there in Havana, where the censors would not have been able to cancel out the message.
Oh, Art, we got to run in a minute, but I'm looking at an article right here that's up on Breitbart, that the moment that he was out of Cuba, there was a newspaper, the Havana Tribune, which is a state-controlled newspaper. They added insult to injury following Castro's scathing criticism of Obama by jumping in and calling Barack Obama, quote, a Negro, and accusing him of inciting rebellion. So he didn't leave them with a very friendly impression. Hey, gotta go, but please tell our audience how they can follow you.
Yeah, you can follow my writings on redstate.com. Just look up under authors there, Red State and Art Harman, Harman. Always pleasure to be on with you, Rick and Anna, and look forward to the next time.
You bet. Art Harman, take care. God bless.
Amen, you too.
And you are listening to Conservative Commandos with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network at WNJC 1360 and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7. Our newest affiliate, Red State Talk Radio, that we're very proud to be a part of. Don't go away, Anna and I will be right back with our next guest.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delch playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to Conservative Commandos with Anna Little and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrs.com or ccrshow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern. Please log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com at 1 p.m., roarradio.net, at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. You can also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Anna Little, we have our next guest with us, and the honor of the introduction is yours.
Thank you, Rick. Well, Robert Enno is the Director of Research for Conservative Review, and he's also a contributor. He's a conservative from Deep Blue, Massachusetts, but now he lives in Greenville, South Carolina. He's also a fill-in radio host and appears on television, and he's joining us today at Conservative Commandos to talk about Donald Trump and the potential for an independent run, which he claims is all but impossible. Rob, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, thanks for having me on again.
Well, I'm so glad you're talking about this because, you know, all over the media, including Fox, we're hearing how there has been no formal pledge, or perhaps there's been a retraction of any pledge that seemed to be made by Donald Trump with regard to his independent run. And here you are just trying to dispel the rumor and put out the facts. So tell us about it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Hey, Robert, if I could interrupt for a minute quickly, are you on a speakerphone?
No, I'm not. I'm on. I'm in a. Let me go outside. I'm in a. I'm in a room.
All right. Well, that's fine. Just you don't need to go outside. I'm sorry to interrupt. Continue your answer for Anna.
Yeah, no problem. I was in a room that has a lot of echo, it seems like. So, no, basically, what we're looking at is there are 17 states that have what are called sore loser laws. And those sore loser laws preclude somebody from running in a general election as an independent if they've run as a party candidate in a primary or caucus in those states. So there's 17 states that have that rule, and the Electoral College is 538 electors, and you need 270 of those electors in order to be the president. Well, this takes away 217 of the 538 electors.
Wow, so that's really a significant impact on Donald Trump if he were to try to do this independent run. So does that mean that when we have these folks that have run in the Republican primary and failed, and they threaten, because Trump is not the only one that's threatened this, they're really threatening to spoil the race and put the liberal in power, are they not?
Yeah, at this point they are. Because, again, if he would have gotten out, say he would have gotten, really lost in the first few weeks of the primary season, and he pulled his name off of ballots, then he would have been able to run as an independent, because it would have been just for the states. If he was not on the ballot in Texas, for instance, but was on the ballot in South Carolina, Texas wouldn't consider that him being on the ballot in Texas. So they would have allowed him to run as an independent if he could have pulled his name off. But because he didn't, he can't, nor can anybody else. And, Bernie can't do it on the Democratic side really either. So, these laws are in place. I mean, you'll remember the law isn't in place in Alaska, and the reason we know that is because Lisa Murkowski lost her primary and then went and ran as an independent and won the general election. So, that's what these laws are trying to prevent is, as the name says, a sore loser from trying to upend the will of the voters that have already voted in a contest.
So you at Conservative Review, you wanted to find out if it was even plausible for Trump to run and win as an independent, and you've pretty much determined that would not be possible. Do I have that correct?
That is absolutely true. We contacted all 50 states They're elections officials. Most of them are Secretary of State. Some of them are Lieutenant Governors. We contacted all 50 states because we didn't want to just read on the internet and interpret it wrong. We wanted them to tell us, what their states believe. And those 17 states, but it gets even worse for Donald Trump if he were to do it at this point, because he would obviously want to wait until after the GOP convention, or at least until June 7th, to know if he had the 1237 before the convention. But let's just say he waited until July 21st or July 22nd, the day after the convention, the day after the nominating is done. It might happen a little bit earlier this year if it's contested, but say it happens on the 21st, right? On the 22nd, there are already enough states that their filing deadlines to run as an independent will have passed for an additional 67. Additional 67 electoral college votes he would not be able to compete for. And if you do the math all the way down, it means that he could compete for 255 electoral college votes. Now,
and he would need 270 to win, right?
Right. And even Common Core math can tell you that.
Right.
So, I mean,
I do the old-fashioned way, honey.
I hear you. I do too, but I'm just saying that even the Common Core folks would get that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And now let's say, let's game out another scenario. Let's say that, okay, Donald Trump decides to get out now. He figures, he gets creamed in Wisconsin next week, and he decides to pull out now. Now, there are some states where he may be able to get off the ballot that we've already said are states that you need to, that have the sore loser law. Say there's a handful of those states, right? But of the states that he would then need to win that are still in the pool, they would include Massachusetts and their 11 electoral college votes. They would include New York, which he's never going to win in a general election, no matter what he says. They would include, Minnesota, which he's never going to win in a general election. So even the states that he could compete in, he wouldn't win. So the only thing he would be doing is he would be setting himself up as a complete spoiler to get, to stop, possibly even stop from getting to 270. I mean, maybe we party like it's, 1825 again, and the House of Representatives, one vote for each state, gets to pick from the top three finishers.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic, which I don't think I've ever heard discussed before now. But that is an interesting dynamic. Now, Trump is not afraid of litigation. When he doesn't like a result, he doesn't have any fear of taking it to court, and being financially well off, he has the means to do so. Would a legal challenge in court help Trump overcome these electoral college issues?
Precedent says no. Michigan has a sore loser law, and in Michigan, but Gary Johnson missed the deadline to remove his name from the ballot by 3 hours. And I don't know the exact timing, but, so you get a sense, say the filing deadline to get your name off the ballot was noon on a Friday. His guy showed up at 3 o'clock on a Friday and was unable to get his name off the ballot. So he appeared on the Republican primary ballot, and then he tried to get on as the Libertarian for the Libertarian Party, and the state wouldn't let him. They sued. They tried to get injunctive relief from the Supreme Court, which would not give it to him because they say that state laws take precedence. So, if Donald Trump could try and sue all he wanted, but the precedence already isn't on his side.
Okay, so then that begs the question of what is Donald Trump thinking when he says that he will not honor the next Republican nominee? What is he threatening at that point? Because if he can't win as an independent, I'm wondering what he's thinking about when he says that.
I have a problem figuring out what Donald Trump is saying from minute to minute. Never mind day to day.
You're the only one.
Right. Never mind day to day. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. He said it, in frustration on Tuesday night, and then he meets at Reince Priebus yesterday, and everybody's kumbaya again.
Yeah,
and so
I don't know.
I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but there's, it seems like it would fit the definition of manic depressive when he starts talking. I mean, he just...
Well, he certainly does change his mind a lot. Well, listen, Rob, if you could hold on for just 2 minutes while we identify the station. We are not done with you yet. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet, with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all.com. I'm Anna Little, producer Rick Traders in the studio, and we're speaking this segment with Rob Eno, Director of Research for Conservative Review. Be right back after this break.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to Conservative Commandos with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. At 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. Or you can hear our show any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Our guest this segment is Rob Eno. He is the Director for Research for Conservative Review. Rob, thanks for holding through that break. I'd apologize for making you go outside, but I'm sure it's a beautiful day in Greenville, South Carolina.
It is absolutely gorgeous. It's not going to be... I moved down here from Massachusetts in the past 7 months, and it's not going to be 19 degrees like it is in Massachusetts on Tuesday, so I'm very excited.
As you should be. And it was great to sit down and talk with you at CPAC. But, Rob, you keep saying, but it keeps getting worse for Donald Trump. Well, Rob, I've got some information that I think makes it getting worse and worse for Donald Trump. Great article, by the way. Terrific research in doing this. I want to commend you on that, Rob. But there's a few big states here that you haven't even talked about. Okay, you said that he can't win New York. And surely if he can't win New York, his home state, he's not going to win New Jersey, and he's not going to win California either.
Exactly.
And they are three huge electoral vote states. And, Rob, also you have in here the 15 states that have confirmed that to you that they have sore loser laws. And when you look at some of these states, how can he win without Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, or Texas? And then also in your article you talk about if he was going to file, he would have to file before the convention in Florida. Rob, there's no way this guy can win.
Absolutely. There is no way that he could win if he ran as an independent. There's absolutely no way. And you saw Senator Cruz. I don't know if Senator Cruz read my article, but in Wisconsin, he basically brought up sore loser laws and said, Donald, you're stuck with me.
Well, if he hasn't, I'm going to send it to his people.
Oh, no, he mentioned it, man. Good.
It
was in Politico, so he understands, and he mentioned it. So it's at the point where it's Cleveland or bust for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And so with this Wisconsin thing coming up, I mean, if you look at all of the stuff all of the experts' predictions that put Donald Trump over 1270 or over the 1237 delegates for the convention to get the nomination over the past 3 weeks, they were all predicated on Donald Trump winning a minimum of 30 delegates in Wisconsin. That's not going to happen.
Well, Rob, even, in my opinion, even if he does go to Cleveland with enough delegates to win, this man's unfavorables are so bad right now. When you've got 78% of females have an unfavorable opinion of Donald Trump. 80% of Hispanics have an unfavorable opinion. 52% of white men have an unfavorable opinion. Those are the worst unfavorables of any candidate I think we've ever had, at least in our lifetimes.
Absolutely, but if he gets the 1237 before convention, they're not going to be able to get rid of him.
No, but what I'm getting at, there's no way he can win a presidency.
Right, absolutely. And then, this is the follow-up piece, of course, to this, and we have the research now, and we're going to come out with it in the next week or so, is what happens, how many states has an independent candidate that's a conservative that didn't run this time if Donald Trump were to get the nomination, and they wanted an independent candidate to get on the ballot, the establishment GOP, kind of like they did with Murkowski, how would they be able to do that, and could they get in enough states to win? So we have all the data because we asked that follow-up question, even if you have a sore loser law, when are your filing deadlines? So we're going to be, going through the data and coming out with that piece. I don't know if I really want to. It's kind of like the anarchist cookbook. I don't want to give the establishment their cookbook, but I'm sure they've probably already done the research to figure out, what they're going to do. But it's absolutely crazy. We're at Conservative Review. We're going to actually be at the convention the week before the convention for all of those rules committee meetings, where all of these rules are going to be hashed out. Mm-hmm. And so, we'll certainly keep you apprised of what's going on there. But this is an unbelievable yet slow slog through the next 2 months and 6 days.
Well, it makes your job interesting, makes my job interesting.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing how much it slowed down, though. We had all these big days that came up, and now basically between now and April 19th, the original Patriots Day, you're gonna have just 42 delegates selected that will be bound by the rules of their party to any candidate, and that's Wisconsin. You can Wyoming and Colorado and North Dakota. North Dakota is the only one where you go completely unbound, but you can have a preference. Colorado allows you to run as a candidate, but it's not based on a preference poll. And there's only, I saw something today, there's about 525 people have put their name in to run for the delegate slots in Colorado. And of those 525, 300 and something say they're unbound. Who knows who they really support, but 177 say they're for Cruz, and only 41 say they're for Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's going to get shut out in Colorado, too. I mean, the map is just already working against him. And North Dakota, he may get shut out in North Dakota, even though they're unbound. If they're going to vote for Senator Cruz on the first ballot, they could be considered Senator Cruz delegates. And then Wyoming, in the delegates that have already been selected, Senator Cruz has a 9-1. So those are the states, plus Wisconsin, that are going in the next 2.5 weeks now. The next 18 days.
Hey, Robin, in the minute that we have left with you, I need to think outside the box a little bit. Maybe I can draw you outside, too. So what's Donald Trump's plan? Is he looking to be the next H. Ross Perot? Or is he thinking that, okay, the Republican candidate, whoever it is sunk for 2016. I'm gearing up for 2020.
I really think that I think he would be gearing for 2020 at that point. I don't think he'd run as an independent because, the one thing that Donald Trump says he doesn't like to do is he doesn't like to lose. He likes to win. And if he knows that the game is already stacked against him and he can't win, and he's notoriously frugal. He's cut staff. I know a bunch of staffers that work for Donald Trump. And as he's done with states, he's just let them go, where other candidates may pivot them to other states.
Yeah.
He has people working in states, and as soon as it's gone, it's like, you get 2 weeks after the election, bye, you're gone. And we might bring you back if we win the nomination. But he's a very frugal person with his money.
Yeah.
And especially his own personal money, and I think that he would not want to waste his money in a cause that was completely and utterly not able to be done.
Robin, Director of Research for Conservative Review. Again, terrific job on this. Want to thank you so much for joining us. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and the work of Conservative Review.
They can follow us at conservativereview.com. They can follow me on Twitter at RobEno, ROBENO. And they can follow Conservative Review on Twitter at CR.
Robin, you take care. God bless. Keep us posted.
Will do. Thanks for having me on again.
You bet. You are listening to Conservative Commandos with Anna Little and Rick Trader coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network at WNJC, our flagship station in Philadelphia, around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State, Talk Radio, AM, FM 24/7. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Speaking of which, coming up next is our next guest, Dan Butcher, and he's the editor-in-chief of HighPlainsDailyNews.com. One of our affiliates. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You've heard Paul Delps playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
We're David and Patty Berrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is with us, and the honor of that introduction is mine. Dan Butcher is the editor-in-chief of High Plains Pundit and program director for High Plains Talk Radio, of which the Conservative Commandos radio show is a proud contributor. High Plains Pundit is one of the leading and most respected news and information websites on the Internet today, and High Plains Talk Radio has quickly become one of the leading Internet broadcasters with some of the top conservative hosts and shows on the web today. Dan, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Anna and Rick, it's great to be on with you this afternoon.
Well, we're honored you're spending time with us today, and we love your article, which is entitled Progressive Economic Policies Generate Disastrous Results. Tell us why you titled the article that way.
Well, you know, I think the title really of the article speaks for itself, and I make it a habit of writing against what I call an evil cancer, an evil plague that's taking over our country, or at least trying to take over our country, and that is progressivism. And, you know, progressivism eats away at the very soul and the foundation of everything that our country stands for, everything that our country was founded on. And you don't have to look any further than, you know, the progressive utopias of Detroit, of California, you know, Baltimore. The list goes on and on to see what happens when you have had decades of what you could say was decades of Democratic rule. But now the Democratic Party has really turned into the progressive/socialist party. You're seeing that definitely with the candidates that they're running for president, and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Hillary, who has certainly taken a drastic turn further to the left than what she was trying to portray herself during the 2008 presidential election. But you look no further than these policies. These are the type of economic policies that, you know, that sound good in theory, but when you put them in real world situations, they're complete and utter failures. And you also have another great example that we're fixing to see of that is the $15 minimum wage that was just passed into law in California, just passed into law in New York. You have to look at what has happened in Los Angeles since they increased their local minimum wage to $15 an hour. The same thing in Seattle. It stifles entrepreneurs. It stifles small business owners. It runs small business owners out of business. And the $15 an hour minimum wage is progressive economic policies on steroids. I'm not against, in a perfect world, we don't need the minimum wage. Really, market forces would set, you know, the competitive wages. But, you know, if we're going to do this, you certainly don't do something as dumb as increase it, you know, twofold and then pass it on to the business owners. That's going to run people out of business. And so that is where we're at in this country today. Just today, you know, we had the economic numbers come out for the month of March, and on paper, hey, everything looks great. You know, unemployment sitting around 5%. You know, we created over 206,000 jobs. But here's the problem with those numbers. Our labor participation rate is still sitting at around 63%. The real unemployment rate, which is the actual U6 measure in the Labor Department report, stands at just under 10%. Those are the folks that are looking for a job but can't find one, or the people that have dropped out of the workforce. One thing you also have to remember too is that when the Obama administration came in, they changed the rules a little bit on how the numbers are calculated. If you want to get a real look at how the economy is going, look at that U6 number. That is really what the unemployment rate is. You also have to remember that the Obama administration counts anything 34 hours and above as a full-time job. And, of course, that coincides with the implication of Obamacare. So the Obama administration, 34 hours or above is what they consider full-time employment in this country. You have Americans all over the world that are still struggling. You have entrepreneurs, small business owners that are still struggling. That 206,000 jobs that was created in the month of March, that is just keeping up with normal demand. That is not keeping up with what we're going to need to have actual growth in our country. Our growth is stagnant. People say, well, we're having 2.5% growth. We should be having 4 to 4.5% growth in this country. And the only reason we have the growth right now is in spite of everything that the Obama administration and the progressive elite have thrown at our economy. Our economy is very resilient, but it can only go so far. And you always hear about the national debt sitting around $20 million. Here is one thing, and I'll come back to you. Here's one number that should scare the living daylights out of every American today. Our unpaid liabilities in this country are over $100 trillion. That's trillion with the T, ladies and gentlemen. That should scare you to death when you start hearing about progressive economics. That is what progressive economics is all about: robbing from the rich to pay the poor, and without. Here's the thing. We don't want to give these folks a handout. We want to give them a hand up. We need an entrepreneurial economy in this country so that we can continue to pursue the American dream. And I want to throw this to you real quick. This was actually Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox said in North Carolina this week that a lack of adequate number of sidewalks in low-income neighborhoods is an obstacle to a shot at the American dream. Fox said the gray areas represent communities of concentrated poverty. This is representative of what's occurring nationally, which is not surprising because only 49% of low-income neighborhoods have sidewalks. In high-income areas, the number is closer to 90%. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the reason there is a lack of sidewalks, there's a lack of infrastructure, it is because of progressive economics. They get in the way of everything that actually needs to be done in addressing what is going on with our economy today and what's going on in our low-income neighborhoods.
We have got to continue talking to you, Dan, and we've got to take a quick break for the station identification. It's 2 minutes. Can you hold on during the break?
Oh, you bet.
Thank you so much. We are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. I'm Anna Little, producer with Traders in the studio, and we're speaking this segment with Dan Butcher, editor-in-chief of High Plains Pundit and program director for High Plains Talk Radio. We'll be right back with you after this break.
I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
I think we should make public colleges and universities tuition-free.
Climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Climate change poses immediate risks to our national security.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material. Certainly well aware of the classification requirements.
We have a lot to learn from democratic socialist governments that have existed in countries like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway.
This campaign is about a political revolution to transform this country.
You know? Now more than ever, we need our voice in Washington. Now more than ever, we need Sharon Angle in Washington. Go to runsharonangle.com and help us draft Sharon Angle to run for U.S. Senate.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Rick Trader and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and CCRShow.com. Mornings at 9 a.m., log on to LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com. 1 p.m., log on to RoarRadio.net. And at 9 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We are speaking this segment with Dan Butcher, Editor-in-Chief of High Plains Pundit and Program Director for High Plains Talk Radio. We are discussing progressive and economic policies and how they generate disastrous results. Dan, thank you so much for waiting through that break. We do appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem at all. I appreciate you having me on today.
Well, I was so excited listening to you before the break that I just want to try to debunk a little bit about how we got into the situation that we're in right now. We started off with a Constitution, as you well point out in your article.
Right.
The Constitution that recognizes that citizens, people, individually and collectively, they have natural rights derived from the Creator, which they then give a limited number of those rights to the government. So we start off with individuals possessing unalienable rights, and then they delegate a few to the government because we're going to live as a group and we need to take care of some common interests. Well, somehow we got from there at the founding of the country to today, where we have folks that really do believe out there on the street that the government's like the parent and they're the child, and the government's got to provide everything, including economic stimulus, or we're just not going to get anywhere. And it seems like the money the government has, that's something sacrosanct. It didn't come from anywhere. They just have it. So talk to me. How did we get from, I guess, a realistic approach to a really unrealistic approach that isn't based in fact anymore?
Well, it really started with the economic policies of LBJ coming out of the 1960s into the 70s. The original welfare programs were intended to give people a hand up, not a hand out. They were good in theory, but what ended up happening with those policies is that the Democratic Party learned that they could buy votes with that. They learned that they could buy votes by giving a lot of handouts. And what has happened over the years is, we have gotten to a situation where we have way too many people out there that it's almost gimme. What do you owe me? You owe me this. You owe me that. We see it. We see a lot of, and then it goes even further when we're getting into our colleges and our universities. We're educating way too many people to be community organizers, to be social justice warriors. They're being taught that we need to redistribute the wealth to make everything fair for everybody. And then when these college people get into the real world, they quickly realize, wait a minute, I can't make a living doing this. There's no jobs there. We've also forgotten that, we have lots of jobs out there. We have a strong need for trade workers, for welders, for plumbers, electricians, but they're not being educated because of the way our educational system has shifted into this kind of social justice economy, if you want to be. The Obama administration has put it into full motion on steroids. They have turned this, like I mentioned before, they have turned our economy from being a full-time economy to a part-time economy, where families are having to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet, to get ahead. The Obama administration, speaks evil of stay-at-home parents, particularly of stay-at-home moms. There was a time where a mother or a father, you could have a one-income family and be able to support your children, to be able to give them a start in life, maybe send them to college, help them get a job, or what have you. But now that's all seen as evil by these folks. So now what ends up happening, you're ending up with families having to work 2 and 3 jobs. You're ending up with children staying at home more because they can't get a job once they've graduated college. And it's just this is the reverse. If you want to talk about the reverse of what trickle-down economics is, this is the exact opposite of that. What you see when you lose that entrepreneurial spirit, when you lose that American dream type spirit. And this is what progressivism does. It just eats at the very foundation. And I know we're talking about the economy, but progressivism goes further than that. It eats at the very foundation of family. It takes God out of the family. It takes fathers out of the homes. It even ends up taking mothers out of the homes. It ends up taking God out of the classrooms. You see the war that we have on Christianity and religion in general in our country today. That is all a direct result of progressivism, and it goes further than just job creation. It goes into the social aspects of things, where you're seeing today where companies today are having and city governments are having to deal with the issue of, are we going to make all of our restrooms unisex or not? That's the type of nonsense that we shouldn't be having to deal with progressivism. And instead of addressing the real problems and the real needs of the people, number one is we have to get away from this entitlement mindset. We have to get away to encouraging people to stand on their own 2 feet, to get properly educated, to get properly trained for a job, so that they can stand and be productive members of society.
Hey, Dan,
where we're not having to pay for all of that, and then we have to. And then when you do that, then you have to start addressing. Okay, folks. We've got to bring, if you want to address a lot of the economic issues in our low-income areas, the first thing that you've got to do is you've got to bring family back into the picture. You've got to bring the mothers and fathers.
Dan, can I interrupt you for a minute?
Go ahead.
I think we're losing that battle. For instance, you and Anna started out this conversation talking about the minimum wage being raised to $15 an hour in California and New York, soon coming to New Jersey. My feeling is the liberals don't care about the negative effects that things like raising the minimum wage have. They don't care because they know that'll buy them votes. And if you look at the popularity of Bernie Sanders, especially among the young and the college people, that points out they're right. They don't care about the negative effects as long as it gets them votes to keep them in power. So in the minute or so that we have left, Dan, I think we're losing that battle. We conservatives, we fiscal conservatives are losing that battle. How do we win it?
Well, here's how we're going to win it. The first thing is, eventually, whether you like Donald Trump, whether you like Ted Cruz or what have you, eventually the Republican Party is going to have to come together and support a candidate. And we're going to have to retake the White House. We're going to have to defend the Senate. We're going to have to actually make some gains in the Senate. We're going to have to defend the House, make some gains there. We're going to have to make sure that we have control of the Supreme Court as well. That is a very key aspect of this because we can do all, you and I, Rick, we do this every day. We preach this every day. We are spreading the good message of conservatism. We have the best ideas. We have the best solutions. We understand what our forefathers meant when they wrote the Constitution of the United States. Progressives see the Constitution of the United States as a hindrance. They want to do completely away with it, whereas you and I are defending that. But we can do everything we possibly can. We can keep spreading the message. We can keep bringing people to our side, educating people. But if we don't have the means in place to put forward the proper policies, the proper economic policies, we need to, once again, return to Reaganomics. We need to return to that desperately in this country to deal with this massive entitlement debt that we've incurred that I mentioned earlier was over $100 trillion. That number should scare you to death, folks, and I will keep repeating it. $100 trillion. It's not $20 trillion, it's $100 trillion, the actual debt our country is in. But we got to keep fighting, keep spreading the message. But the first thing we got to do, Rick, is we've got to retake the White House, we got to defend the Senate, and then we got to keep pressuring our elected officials to put forth the proper policies. It's up to you and I. It's not up to the elected officials. It's
I agree with that. But Dan, I want you to tell our audience how they can keep track of the work of High Plains Pundit and also High Plains Talk Radio, which we're a proud member of.
You bet. You can visit our website. The website address is hppundit.com. You can follow us. That, of course, is our main website. You can also follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm also a proud part of SHR Media. We do a lot of good work with those folks. And if you just go to the main website at hppundit.com, you can also get the links to High Plains Talk Radio, and they'll also have all the links to where you can follow us on social media, Rick.
Dan Butcher, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. Take care. God bless, my friend.
You bet, Rick. It's always a pleasure being up with you, man. Keep up the good fight, brother.
Thank you. You too, my friend. Hey, Anna, we're coming to the end of the show. I want to thank our guests today, Robert Eno, Art Harmon, our most recent guest, Dan Butcher. I want to thank you, Anna, for sitting in today as my co-host. I also want to thank Mr. John Forsyth Jr. for working the boards. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next week on the radio. Have a great weekend.
This is 1360 AM WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you by Forsyth Broadcasting. Listen online at 1360radio.com.